Good evening and welcome to the May 11th, 2017 meeting of the Kern County Planning Commission, which I will call to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Louie?
Here.
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Ms. Garcia?
Here.
Ms. Poole?
Here.
Mr. Sprague?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Ms. Oviatt? Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Thank you. Next item is B for Commissioner Member Announcement or Reports. Do we have any this evening? All right. Item C, approval of the minutes of April 27th, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments or questions, I would submit a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is D, cases withdrawn or requests for continuances. Mr. Murphy?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. So this evening, we have...
May I make a comment, please?
Not at this time, ma'am. There will be a,
It's regarding this
not at
item,
this time, ma'am.
So you'll take action without hearing what we have to say.
Ma'am, after we hear the reading.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there are two items this evening that are on cases withdrawn or requests for continuance. The first is CUP 20, map 16525. The project is Ken Mahler by Swanson Engineering, Inc. The staff recommendation is to refer this project back to staff. That case, your commission did receive a staff report. The project itself is a proposed 2 assisted living homes that would contain a total of 32 beds and encompass approximately 14,460 square feet. After the notice was sent for this particular project, staff did receive comments from Caltrans. Staff did receive some comments from surrounding neighbors, which included a petition to disapprove the project. At this time, as identified on page 2 of your staff report, the staff recommendation is that this project be referred back to staff. So one, the applicant can prepare a trip generation and turn movement study so we can potentially analyze and verify some of the concerns. And two, that so staff can further evaluate this particular project and make a recommendation one way or the other. At this time, staff is not prepared to recommend approval or denial. It again is the recommendation before your commission is to refer this project back to staff for further analysis, study, and it may or may not come forward before your commission. If it does become forward for your commission, because we have referred it back to staff, a complete re-advertisement of the entire project would be sent to all the surrounding properties as well. We do have a number of residents that came down from Tehachapi tonight. This project is on your commission's agenda, so even though the staff recommendation is to refer it back to staff, it is in with your prerogative, if your commission feels appropriate, that you can have this item heard in its regular agenda order and take public testimony so that you can hear some of the concerns of the residents. But again, if you do that, that is the prerogative of your commission, but the staff recommendation is to refer it back to staff for potential further analysis and analysis, those particular aspects. The second case this evening is case number 9. This is CUP 19, map 14318. The applicant is Watts Chopping, and the staff recommendation is to continue till June 8, 2017. I would note for your commission that you did receive an addendum on that particular case. When staff reviewed the distribution and the staff report, it was identified that there were some comment letters that were not attached. Therefore, this addendum just includes all of the comment letters that we have received. Again, the staff recommendation for that project is to continue until June 8, 2017. That completes the reading of the items withdrawn or request for continuance.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to commissioners for action.
We can have Commissioner Poole down there.
Yeah, I think since we've had people that came from Tehachapi, if we could listen to them, give them a couple minutes to voice their concerns and acknowledge that we're sending it back to staff, but if they've made the effort, let's listen to their brief comments.
And I agree with Commissioner Poole. I'd like to hear what they have to say before we take action.
Okay?
Okay, but you're just
Well, I'm
putting
gonna,
it in
it'll be heard in its regular order.
Yep.
But
So it comes after the
we-
consent.
Can we not pull it from this From item D, can we not pull it and have it heard in its regular order? And just hear briefly what their comments are? It may just be a.
Or do we want to do it now?
Through the chair, at this stage, you probably should just do it now, because really, hearing it in its regular order, you have nothing to hear in the regular order. It's been
Okay.
referred back to staff. You couldn't vote on anything of it tonight if you wanted to. So really, you're taking public comment, but even that public comment is somewhat limited, because when and if it does come back, it might be in a different format. Might be other changes to it. So hearing public comment today is appropriate because they've come down, but they might need to come back and address their issues in different ways, because it might be a completely different project.
Mr. Chairman, if I had a choice in this, which I guess I do, I would prefer to hear testimony on this after it comes back from staff, so that the testimony is fresh in front of us. And
If it comes back.
If it comes back. But if it does come back, then we hear the testimony, and things change day by day anyway, so you probably have more to say if it does come back to us. I would rather hear it coming the night of the hearing, that it's going to be a decision made on it, so that the information is fresh to us as commissioners. Because if you talk tonight, give us testimony, we have to go back and try to review that, pick it all up, and then listen to your testimony again. So it's just kind of double work. I like the freshness of hearing it in a public hearing that we're going to make a decision on. So that would be my preference, and I appreciate you all coming down from Tehachapi to do this, but nevertheless, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'll let you entertain.
Ms. Garcia, do you have any comments?
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Sprague on this, just so that we can hear it all at once on a project that's actually being proposed.
Well,
That's-
I'm in agreement with both of you. There's no likelihood of this even coming back.
Well, we don't know that, but if it does.
We don't know. And I understand you drove a long way to speak tonight, but it may be a month, maybe 6 months before, if this comes back before us. And it could be an entirely different project than what is proposed today. That's why it's being referred back to staff, for staff and the applicant to work on the problems that the surrounding neighborhood has brought up and others. So the project may come back completely different, if it comes back at all.
Yes, I completely understand.
So I don't want to upset you by, ma'am, would you please?
You are
please-
not upsetting us at all, no. Relative
Okay.
to notice, however, I have a quick
Ma'am,
question. I have a quick question relative to notice. You had indicated that subsequent notice would be coming out.
would you come to the podium, please?
Oh,
I'll
my
allow
apologies.
just a couple of minutes. Your name,
Sure.
state your
Just a quick
name.
question relative to notice. Kathleen Dunn, I'm a homeowner in the area where the proposed project is to be considered. A question relative to notice. Some of us in the area did receive a notice by mail regarding this hearing, but others didn't. And I was curious to know what the radius of distribution is, or is it just the local?
If it's rural setting, I believe it's within 1,000 feet. If it's
therein
in
lies the mystery.
metropolitan area, is it 300 feet? 500 feet. That's
So 1,000 feet?
how's it's determined,
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
asked and answered, thank you.
You're welcome.
May I-
One quick question. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Corinne Stone. I am a signer on the letter that has 19, well, it actually has almost 40 names because it's Mr. and Mrs. And my husband and I live directly across the street from this proposed project. And
Ma'am, right now, this is not a proposed
No,
project.
I-
It's going back to
I
staff.
understand that, and that's fine. I'm glad to hear it because I think it definitely needs to have our concerns looked at. But I've got a real concern because we drove down here assuming this was going to be on the agenda tonight. We never received any notification that it was being sent back to staff. And I
Well-
think that's inconsiderate for those of us who drove 50 miles down and 50 miles back. And I would just hope that in the future, proper notices will be sent out so that we don't make wasted trips again. And hopefully, if this ever does come back, hopefully we all receive proper notices at that time. And when you review, well, I don't know that you'll even review it since it's being sent to staff, but the signatures on the letters includes the entire neighborhood. It's not just
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
one or two people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right?
Okay, we're back to item D. Looking
Well-
for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think Melissa still is up on the queue. Oh, you haven't erased her. Okay. So I tried to queue myself in. I got Commissioner Garcia on my screen.
Are we sitting in the wrong seats?
Oh, we are?
I don't know.
Okay, from last meeting. Okay. All right, anyway, if you recognize me, I'll make a motion to refer back to staff item number 5, and on item number 9, continue to June the 8th.
And I'll second that.
Cast your votes.
And Mr. Chairman, again, we'd like to thank you all for coming out. I know it's an inconvenience, but you may or may not have a chance to come back and speak, but we'll certainly listen to you if you do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item is E, consent. This is the consent calendar for this evening. Mr. Denny? I'm sorry. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are items scheduled before your planning commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions regarding the case. This evening, we have 8 cases that are on the consent calendar. The first is conditional use permit number 26, map 47. The applicant is Quillen and Grant by Chalman Engineering. The project is located at 1669 Airport Road in Kern. The request is to allow an aircraft hangar accessory to an existing airport in an M1 PDH district. The staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The second item on consent this evening, case number 2, is conditional use permit number 64, map 213. The applicant is AT&T Mobility by Valterra Services. This project is located at the southwest corner of Division Street and Jessica Avenue in Mojave. The proposed project is to allow a 70-foot tall monopine wireless communication facility and associated equipment shelter in an A1 MH district. I would note for your commission that late this evening, we received a comment letter on this project from California Fish and Wildlife requesting various studies be prepared on the site. Staff has reviewed the comment letter. Staff notes that we have provided that to the applicant. The applicant is fully aware of all requirements and provisions that they must adhere to regarding endangered species. As part of their due diligence and through their permitting process, they have compliance officers to help ensure that there are no species that will be disturbed as a result of this project. Based on the size and scope of the particular project, based on how the operator manages and goes through the construction aspect. At this time, staff did not feel it was necessary to put a specific condition on the project that required a survey prior to any of the ground disturbing activities. Therefore, the staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Case number 3 this evening is General Plan Amendment number 29, map 196, zone change case number 55, map 196. The applicant is the DeMonte Family Trust. This project is located on the north side of Aurora Avenue, east and west of State Route 58, also in Mojave. There are 2 actions before your commission tonight. The first is an amendment to the land use, open space, and conservation element of the Mojave specific plan from map code 7.1 to map code 7.2, or a more restrictive map code designation. And the second is a change in zone classification from M1 PD to A and M2 PD, or a more restrictive district, to facilitate future on-site development. The staff recommendation is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors adopt the Section 15091 findings and Section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, approving the general plan amendment as requested, approving the zone change as requested, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Case number 4 this evening is conditional use permit number 23, map 23836. The applicant is AT&T Mobility by Vance Pomeroy. This project is located at 3977 Park Drive in Fraser Park. The project is to allow a 74-foot-tall monopine wireless communication facility and the associated equipment shelter in an E20 district. The staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Case number 6 is specific plan amendment number 86, map 101, zone change case number 88, map 101. The applicant is Gordon. The project is located at 14633 Chad Road in Bakersfield. There are 2 actions on this project before your commission. The first is to amend the land use element of the Western Rosedale specific plan from map code RR to map code SR, or a more restrictive map code designation. And the second is a change in zone classification from A1 to E1/2, or a more restrictive district. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to approve a more restrictive UER map code designation as recommended by staff, approve the zone change as requested to become effective upon recordation of the final map, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. I would note for your commission that we have contacted the applicant, and they are aware that we are recommending a more restrictive UER map code designation, and they are comfortable and fine with the proposed recommendation by staff. Case number 7 is conditional use permit number 7, map 104-5, modification number 2, map 104-5. The applicant is AT&T Mobility by Valterra Services. This request is a conditional use permit to allow a 60-foot-tall monopine wireless communication facility with the associated equipment shelter, and also a zone modification to allow a reduced tower setback distance of 57 feet where a 72-foot is required in an A1 KRC district. The staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit, subject to the recommended conditions, approve the zone modification, subject to the recommended conditions, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. Case number 8 this evening is conditional use permit number 44, map 143. The applicant is Verizon Wireless by Complete Wireless Consulting. This project is located at 14911 Adobe Road in Bakersfield. The project would allow a 150-foot-tall monopine wireless communication facility and associated equipment shelter in an A district. Staff would note that your commission did receive an addendum on this project. It was identified by staff that this project is located in a non-residential district. Therefore, a condition that required a landscape plan has been removed. Specifically, condition 4D has been removed, and it is not required for a proposed facility not located in a residential district. Therefore, there is a revised recommendation before your commission this evening. The staff recommendation would be to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended revised conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft revised resolution. And finally, the 10th case this evening is a zoning ordinance revisions 2017A. The applicant is the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, and this project is countywide. The proposal is a text amendment to the various chapters of Title 19 to address changes in state law to eliminate barriers to development of accessory dwelling units in single-family and multifamily zones. The proposed revisions include, but are not limited to, the following: amending Chapter 19.19, secondary residential units, to now be known as accessory dwelling units, expanding the number of zone districts in which accessory dwelling units can be established, and amending the development standards to be consistent with state law. Amending Chapter 19.04 definitions by adding a car-sharing dwelling unit accessory and public transity stop, and deleting secondary residential unit. Amending Chapter 1908 interpretations and general standards to clarify square footage and height requirements for accessory dwelling buildings, and revising the zone modification findings needed to approve a request not adhering to the criteria. And D, revising various chapters within the zoning ordinance to ensure consistency with the proposed requirements of Chapter 19.90. These chapters include 19.04 definitions, 19.08 interpretations and general standards, 19.12 exclusive agricultural district, 19.14 limited agricultural district, 19.16 estate E district, 19.18 low-density residential district, 19.20 medium-density residential district, 19.22 high-density residential district, 19.42 recreation forestry district, 19.53 platted lands district, 19.73 Kern River corridor combining district, and 19.82 off-street parking, 19.102 permit procedures, 19.110 zone modifications, and appendix of the land use master list. Again, these changes are based on new laws and state requirements related to accessory and secondary dwelling units. The staff recommendation is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to approve and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Now, I got your name correct. Those of you in the audience, you've heard the reading of the consent calendar. Is there anyone that has a question about any of the items that Mr. Murphy read this evening? If you do, please raise your hand and tell us which number, and we will pull that from the consent calendar and hear it in its regular, well, we'll hear it after we're through with voting on the consent agenda. Are there any commissioners that would like to pull an item?
You got one person back there.
I'm sorry?
There's one person back there that wants to speak.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I couldn't see you way back there. Number 10? You want to pull number 10?
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a presentation on it.
No, it's on the consent calendar.
Okay, then I'd like to pull it so I can hear the presentation.
Okay, we'll pull number 10.
Motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of number 10.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. When the screen comes up, please cast your votes.
Okay, go. All ayes.
Thank you. Okay, who is going to give a presentation on number 10? Sir,
Mr. Chairman,
would
that
you
would be-
please come down to the front?
Mr.
and
Chairman, that
sit
would
in the
be
front row?
me, but before I do that, I'm going to read the rights to appeal for the projects that were just considered on
Yes,
consent.
thank you.
For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms available at the Planning and Natural Resources Department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. Those items that are subject to appeal tonight are 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8.
Thank you. Would we want to go ahead and do public presentations before we start item 10? Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Chairman, that's up to your commission.
Commissioners have any objection which way we go? Okay, let's hear item 10. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I missed an aspect of it. Again, case number 10 this evening are revisions to the proposed zoning, or to the Title 19, the Kern County zoning ordinance. I basically read the project description and what was proposed, so I don't really have any further of a presentation. In a more straightforward term than the specific language we read. State law, new state law has been required and been adopted that requires the streamlining of secondary residential units. They're a type of unit that encourages potential rental, value of properties. And while the county already specifically had provisions in our zoning ordinance that authorized and allowed secondary residential units to be ministerial permits, meaning that provided they met the appropriate development standards, there was no action necessary before your commission or the Board of Supervisors. The changes that we have proposed today provide additional clarification and streamlining of what state law now requires. The state has adopted and passed these provisions that require secondary residential units, or as they are termed, accessory residential units, be permitted locally in a streamlined fashion and ministerially, provided specific standards and development standards have been met. Staff has reviewed state law. The proposal before your commission outlines all the provisions that are required to meet the new state law requirements. Again, in most cases, we already did, and this county already authorized and allowed those particular uses ministerially, but there were still a few cleanup items that had to be done, specifically some of the districts they were allowed in, and some of the development standards and things along those lines regarding off-street parking and things along those lines. So again, we're implementing what we are now required to implement, and the purposes of the changes in the zoning ordinance are to help make that more clear for all those who are looking to implement those projects. And with that, that completes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to come to the podium? Please state your name for the record and spell your last name.
David Fluhart, F-L-U-H-A-R-T, Havilah, First District. On April 13th meeting, you guys, they said that we're going to make a presentation of this, so I just wanted to hear it, that's all. I imagine this is making more affordable housing, streamlining the system. I thought that's what the presentation was going to be about, so sorry for bringing it up. I guess I was completely mistaken. If that makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we need to take action on item 10.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve item number 10 as read into the record by Mr. Murphy and explained.
Second.
Cast your votes.
All ayes.
Okay, next item before us is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address this commission on a matter not on the agenda in which the commission has jurisdiction. Would anyone like to speak? Seeing none?
Mr. Chairman, I have an announcement to make. And
Sure.
I'll do, if I could do
Mr.
it now.
Sprague.
I'm going to be out of town on May 25th, and I'll be out of the country on June the 8th meeting. So I won't make either one of those two meetings. So
Thank
I just wanted
you.
to let you know so we can kind of plan around it.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is H, adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.